Tahoe-Truckee. My name is Brenda Heldoorn. I'm a licensed practitioner here at the center. And it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning, joining us both in the sanctuary and on Zoom. So for those of you who are joining by Zoom today, welcome. Karen, Heine, and Diane are hosting today. So let them know in the chat if you have any problems with the sound or the video. We also appreciate your comments and questions in the chat. So please keep yourself muted during the service so we don't have any background noise or static in our recording, including when we are singing. But you are encouraged to sing at home. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. We know that there are many paths to God, and we recognize that all these paths end in oneness and in love. We are grateful that each of you are with us today, whether you're in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom. Our center's purpose is love. Our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. So, while we set our intentions for today, if you will join me in reading our receptivity statement that you will see on the screen. I am here by divine appointment. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. Our musician today is Rod Loomis, and he is joining us on Zoom. Welcome, Rod.
Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, dear hearts.
Good morning.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. In the midst of the children, God said He would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be two or three, and they feel the same sweet spirit that I felt oft times before. Surely I can say we've been blessed by Spirit's grace. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on its face. Surely the presence
Thank you, Rod. That was beautiful.
You're very welcome.
Surely the presence of God is in this place, and it's present in each one here this morning. But most especially in our practitioner of the day, today, Nancy O'Neill. So I'd like to invite Nancy up to do our sacred reading and to bless us with an opening prayer. Good morning, Nancy.
Thank you. Okay. So today's reading's from the Science of Mind magazine this month, and it's by David Alt wrote the daily read. And this one is called "You Have No Patient," not patience, no patient, but yourself. Because this is about the body divine, which is our focus for the month. The most fundamental harm we can do ourselves is to remain ignorant by not having the courage and the respect to look at ourselves honestly and gently. That's from Pema Chodron. The truth is, that which is, it is all that is. And that's from Ernest Holmes. In the classic metaphysical text, The Master Key System, Charles Haanel seems to encapsulate Holmes' vision of a science of mind practitioner. And really, we're all practitioners. He wrote, "Remember that no matter what the difficulty is, no matter where it is, no matter what is affected, you have no patient but yourself. You have nothing to do but to convince yourself of the truth which you desire to be manifested. You have no patient but yourself." This striking statement summates that the required reconciliation of seeing beyond limitations in form must take place within our consciousness. We must take responsibility for our thinking if we are to experience any modification beyond what our lowest common denominator defaults to. I often ask others how such statements make them feel. Typically, their first response is enthusiastic. That is, until they are triggered. Consider reframing the idea of triggers as signals. A signal represents guidance. Signals help direct focus to unattended wounds in need of attention. If we have no patient but ourselves, then we must be the one to recognize and attend to our wounds. If we miss seeing the trigger as wisdom's hand, if we miss allowing it to lead us to the bedside of ourselves, then our energy remains misdirected in continuing attacks on outer forms. In this manner, all triggers remain activated. Haenel's writing references the essential framework for our personal practice to face the fragile parts of our mental ecosystem. And within any study and application, unhealed triggers readily appear, not because of something we've done wrong, but because wellness and wholeness accepts no compromise. This feeling, this moment, this experience is my perfect teacher. That's the affirmation. So if you'll just join me in an opening prayer. And I was just thinking of what Rod was singing. Surely the presence of God is in this place, but this place is really within. Surely the presence of God is within me, as it is within you. As it permeates all that we know, God is everywhere present. And so in knowing that, we think about what that is, what that means to us. And that means love and joy and power and truth and life. And so in knowing this life that is given to us, that we use it for good, and that good is always surrounding us. We just have to be aware of it. And so this morning, as we, focus our awareness on Father's Day, on our fathers, which we all have, and the father of our children. We're just in great gratitude for that peace of God at work always for good. And so in gratitude this morning for all of you being here, for this time together, for this time to really reach within and to really hear words that are needed, that really help us to focus on our day, on our week, on our time together. And in gratitude for that, I just allow my word to move out into that universal presence that always says yes. Say together, and so it is. So we'll just have Rod sing another song, which is so beautiful.
Okay. Thank you, 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 thank you. Here, let me just get my sound here. All right, here we go. Days pass. Days pass, years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing, our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when the lighting of your presence illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we are that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. How filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Days pass, years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing, our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when the lighting of your presence illumines the darkness in which we walk. Oh, help us to see wherever we are that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. How filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Help us to see it. Help us to see it. Thank you, dear hearts.
Thank you, Rod. such a blessing for our community. Well, one of the traditions that we have here at the Center for Spiritual Living on Sundays, before we ever even get started, those of us that are here early in the morning, we gather together for a sacred circle where we read our spiritual covenant for our center, and each one of us is invited to introduce a word of intention for the day. And my word this morning was celebration. There's a bunch going on today. It's Father's Day, of course, so happy Father's Day. For those that are joining us on Zoom, Jim and Rod, happy Father's Day to you. It's also Juneteenth, which is a very important holiday that I want to definitely express my gratitude for the recognition of this day, for freedom for all. And it's also my sister's birthday. So happy birthday, Teresa. I know you're joining us on Zoom. I will refrain from singing happy birthday public, but happy birthday. So all of this month we have been talking about the body. Our theme as an organization, and I use that term loosely, our theme is living everyday wonder. But for the month of June, we've been focusing on the idea of the wonder of the body. And today in particular, the topic is the body remembers. And the reason that I'm here speaking with you today is because Reverend Pam and Michael are on vacation. And so they are honoring their bodies by taking a well-deserved and needed rest. And they're also experiencing the beauty and the grandeur of the world as they travel to Norway and beyond. So I hope they're having a wonderful time. I know that they are. So today's affirmation for this idea is I feel and honor every sensation in my body. So the body, we're invited to look at different aspects of our experience here on the planet, having moved from the non-physical into the physical. Some of us call that birth. Happy birthday, sis. Today I'm going to invite you to examine your relationship to your body and to re-assimilate the body-mind. In truth, the mind and body are one, a magnificent conduit between the one mind, which is God, and our individual consciousness. By loving the body, using it to connect to our minds and hearts, and listening to its wisdom, we celebrate its magnificence and awaken to this everyday wonder. Unprocessed, unhealed emotions can hide in our bodies. Over time, this can cause problems ranging from headaches and fatigue to serious medical conditions and depression and more. Engaging with our bodies in richer, more meaningful ways opens the door to resolve what is unhealed and live more open, authentic lives. So we have wonderfully creative minds and wonderfully responsive bodies. As many of us already know well, we also have wonderfully creative bodies and responsive minds, as the two are always acting in a reciprocal dance with one another. We often focus on top-down causation, using the mind to influence an effect in the body. What we may forget is that the body is responding to everything we do with our minds, including when we suppress our emotions or experience trauma. Conversely, physical experiences in the body can create unhealthy or undesired effects in the mind in bottom-up fashion. We can interrupt the cycles of trauma, both personally and collectively, by intervening in either mind or body. One of my favorite ways to do this when I notice that I'm in a negative mental spiral, or even if I'm having a physical pain response to something that I recognize is emotional and in nature. And I don't always notice that immediately, but if I'm having some sort of a pain that kind of popped in from nowhere, not as the result of stubbing my toe or tripping over something, I can be very sure that there's an emotional component to that pain response. So I'll take a walk in nature, or I'll listen to beautiful, uplifting, or soothing meditation music. My playlist depends on what sort of balancing I might need. If I'm feeling lethargic and low energy, I want to listen to something really uplifting. You know, it was funny. Dawn and I went to see the new Top Gun movie last week, and all that old music just came. Boy, man, talk about earworms. I've got that stuck in my head. I highly recommend it. But if I am feeling agitated and anxious, then I'll put on some very soothing meditation music, and that'll just calm my ruffled feathers right on down. So those are a couple of ways to interrupt that spiral that we don't want to engage in. So Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind textbook on page 177, he said, "Spiritual man is perfect, but his individual use of life and law enables him to cover a perfect idea with an apparently imperfect cloak. Sickness is not a spiritual reality. It is an experience, an effect, not a cause." And I know that this is possibly in conflict with what a lot of us have been brought up or trained to believe, that if we have pain in our bodies or if we're sick, that can cause us distress in our mind. But actually, the opposite is really true. Everything begins in mind. Everything begins in consciousness. And so that is the place that we can go to bring ourselves back into harmony. So healing, health, and learning to feel our feelings, and releasing old or stuck emotions and sensations doesn't happen overnight. Often we're tempted to think of healing and growth as linear binary events. I used to have this or that trauma, but I processed it, and it's done. This is not the way that any growth happens, and health isn't a yes or no question. There is a whole spectrum of health, and the path through healing means looking at our own experiences of our lives in new and different ways, over and over again. Likewise, healing the systems that create widespread trauma won't happen immediately. But we can each do our parts to heal it in ourselves and in our societies. Collective trauma, like that imparted by centuries of racist structures and oppression, leaves a mark on all of us, though some are obviously more personally and deeply affected. Today in the United States, it's the holiday of Juneteenth, the celebration of the emancipation of enslaved persons. While Juneteenth may be specific to the U.S., across the world, people of color have experienced deep ancestral and personal trauma, from which they deserve liberation, as do we all. By healing individual experiences of a trauma, we can heal the collective grief and correct oppressive systems. We can't heal what we refuse to look at. So if pain, sickness, and disease are effects and not causal, how must we shift our perspective? to see spiritual truth and wholeness in the face of an appearance of conflict. We recognize the effects of unhealed and unprocessed and unexpressed emotion, trauma, and grief as having an adverse action in our bodies. The effect in our bodies of joy, peace, love, comfort, and security are just as true. So if the quality and condition of our thinking minds have brought adverse experiences in our physical bodies, the opposite is also possible. Not only possible, but natural. So if we're in a place of dis-ease, sickness, or illness, a shift is possible simply by embracing a thought, perhaps a memory of joy, perhaps gratitude, a practice of looking beyond whatever is getting our attention right now and looking into everything around us that we have to be grateful for. That can have an immediate healing effect, even in the physical realm. It not only takes our attention away from what is bothering us, whether it's pain or illness, or maybe just depression, it shifts our whole energetic field of our bodies into a different frequency. And all of a sudden we're open to noticing more and more things to be grateful for. They start becoming front and center, and whatever it was that was bothering us is disappearing into the background, becoming less and less insistent on our attention. In my own prayer work, I make a point of spending whatever time is needed to really feel what I'm feeling. If I'm angry, sad, confused, or embarrassed, I am allowed to feel it all. I let myself be there. I let myself feel what I'm feeling. I make a point of not pushing it away or suppressing it or discounting it. I let myself feel that. However, I don't get stuck there. I feel it until I am very sure, quite confident, that it has said everything it needs to say to me and the message is delivered. To do otherwise would be to invite it to pop up at another, perhaps more inopportune time. In the sanctuary of my mind, I can embrace the emotion. I can taste it. I can hear its voice. I give it color and dimension. And then I call it by its true name, fear, and release it to be transmuted. Fear is a signal that I have forgotten who and what I am. In the moment that I remember who and what I am, which is an individualized expression of the one. When I really embrace that idea and I know it to the core of my being, I know that there is nothing to fear. There is no other. There is only the one, and I am one with that one. Fear can be transmuted by love. Like in the Course in Miracles teaches, there's only two real emotions, fear and love. And whatever isn't love is a call for love. Fear is just calling to be loved. So Deepak Chopra writes, people thrive when they feel loved and languish when they don't. Love increases one's sense of self-esteem, which leads to taking better care of oneself. Love also alleviates stress, anxiety, and depression, which reduces a chronic inflammation response and risk for many age-related disorders. Love is a state of awareness, not a lifestyle choice. Ultimately, what counts aren't the choices you make, but the consciousness that keeps those choices going in a constant state of healing. That's from Deepak Chopra's book, The Healing Self. And I love that statement because all of us for years have been hearing about our lifestyle choices, when love is the ultimate choice that keeps us in a state of healing. So healing, health, and learning to feel our feelings and releasing old or stuck emotions. Oh, we went there already, didn't we? Yes, we did. So finding a way to be fully alive in the present and engaged with others. This is the guidance from Bessel van der Kolk. He wrote the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And I've been listening to this book, and it's very, he's a physician, a psychiatrist, and so it's very, very medical based and science based, but it is fascinating, his work that he's done with Vietnam veterans and other people in psychiatric situations. And he has come to find that he talks about 3 ways of shifting out of the mental state that is expressing as physical disorders. But the third way the first 2 are fairly conventional. The third way is saying that finding a way to be fully alive in the present and engaged with others. He did a lot of work with Vietnam veterans in which he noticed that so many of them with PTSD were living in the past, and they kept going to the past, to their dramatic events in combat, and kept reliving those traumas over and over again. And so he's inviting us to engage in the present and with others. And so I was also listening to a podcast by a 10% Happier podcast with Dan Harris, and he was doing an interview. And in the course of the interview, the subject of loneliness came up, and this idea that isolation and loneliness is ultimately leading to a great deal of illness and disease and premature death. And so the invitation and the wisdom is to stay connected with people, to reach out and be in community. And in this way, we can find our way back to health and wholeness. And so I was talking to my sister last night, and I needed her help with some of these references. And so this is a direct quote, she said, "We co-regulate with other humans and with animals." And I haven't heard that term co-regulate before, but I understand that it means that our mental state, the energetic signature that we're broadcasting out there all the time, can be regulated in a positive way with other humans, with people we love, people that we are in community with. And I'm more familiar with it in a very negative way when they talk about the mob mentality. That's also co-regulating. But I know all of us have heard, or at least most of us, I believe, have experienced that co-regulation that we have with animals. There is nothing like a cat in your lap, purring, sleeping. There's nothing like a walk in nature with your dog and being present with that living being to co-regulate ourselves back into a state of gratitude, joy, and bliss. So in conclusion, not really much of a conclusion, it's more of like an invitation to get out there and live that experience. There's a conclusion here somewhere, I just know. Our bodies, quite literally, keep the score of every thought, mental attitude, and trauma they experience. Whether we try to push these pains away mentally or not, they are stored in our body and must eventually be addressed in order to live free and authentic lives. It can be hard to start feeling them, especially for those of us with many unhealed traumas or who have become accustomed to not going there at all. A gentle way to begin is just by noticing whatever sensation the body is having, and patiently and curiously considering whatever comes up. This process, while personal to each of us, can also be used to address and begin to correct the systems of oppression that have traumatized countless bodies and hearts for the past several centuries. This week, push through your personal discomfort as you get to know your own body and the discomfort that may come with hearing and learning about the experiences of people who've been affected by social structures. Those social structures are all around us. Some of them are pretty blatant and in our face, and others are much more subtle and require us to be vigilant and paying attention to anything that minimizes, marginalizes, or denigrates another human being. For we know that we are all one, and we are all just walking each other home. So the invitation today is to join together in community and consciously invite each other back into health and wholeness and joy and peace and love. Above all, love. So join me in a closing prayer. Breathing. I embrace that which is breathing me, that inexpressible, ineffable one, the one intelligence, one power, one love, one indivisible, creative mind. And I am remembering that I am made of and from the substance of this one. And therefore I can take a deep breath. I can let God be God in me. I can open new eyes and see a new vista. I now recognize the beauty, the harmony, the symmetry, the magnificence of all creation that I am one with. And from this place of knowing, I can release everything that I have been carrying unhealed, unprocessed, unexamined. I can learn from all of these experiences, knowing that every ache and every pain and every sickness has been a message. It's been an invitation, a signal to wake up, to pay attention, to be fully present. So I take this all in. I embody it in the light of love. And I release my word into the law, knowing that it always returns fulfilled. And I am free. I am free to live in love, in peace, in joy, harmony, in wholeness. And as this is true for me, this word goes out to each one of us, to all beings, as we say together, and so it is. So, if you will take your gift and place it over your heart, and as soon as the slide comes up, join me. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me, blessed and multiplied. And so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Our community is so blessed indeed by this generous outpouring of supply. We know that Spirit is the source of all that the good that flows into our lives. And just as we breathe, easily drawing a breath and easily releasing it, supply flows into our lives and out into our community and into the world. And I give thanks for this. And so it is.
So, right after the service, we have hospitality, which you can probably smell that. Anyway, and so I would just love for have all of you join us so that we can just catch up with each other a little bit. Any of the announcements you can find on our website, which is tahoecsl.org, or in the Constant Contact newsletter. But just a few that I want to remind you of. Next week, our guest minister will be Lanny Howard. And I do believe Carol is going to be the POD. Maybe she'll correct me. Yeah. And, you know, all the services are on YouTube. Samantha gets them up by Tuesday, I do believe. And YouTube and Instagram and, you know, Facebook, all those places. So you can always check that out. Just a reminder that on Tuesdays, we have so much fun with this e-bike group. Thank you, Sue Pipel, for putting that together. Really, just great fun. I wish you all had e-bikes so you could join us. So much fun. And this week, I think we're beginning at dollar again. Dollar to, oh, we're going backwards? Kilner to the top of dollar. Oh, okay. Kilner to dollar. Anyway, always fun and always, yeah, just to be out there with each other. It's just a kick. And then today there is a Hike to Spooner Summit if any of you are going to be doing that with Sue. And I just want to remind you that next Saturday is our Adopt a Highway. It's been put off. It's normally the third Saturday of the month, but this time it will be the fourth Saturday of the month. And we start at 9 o'clock on Commonwealth, which is in Kingswood condominiums. But I'm hoping that we have a bit of a turnout. I know there are a few people that are not here who normally help with the highway. But the big thing about the highway is not only that we're cleaning it and we're cleaning up the environment, but that we now have, we're now working with Caltrans, who is, we get $250 every time we go out to clean litter off the highway. So we need people to show up to do that. Yes, in service. We have a drum circle coming up with Jim Eaglesmith on August 14th. That'll be totally fun. And just a reminder that September 23rd through the 25th is going to be our annual retreat at Ananda. So we're taking deposits, $200 for deposits for that. Our own ongoing classes. Chris, you know, and Sage is here. Maybe you'd like to say something about the solstice.
Sure, I think there's a slide. There's a slide. Yeah.
Okay. Somewhere. Is it off the highway?
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's Monday evening. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. The solstice is technically on the 21st, but it made sense with the facility and all the different things going on to celebrate on Monday evening. It's still a window of opportunity where we get to be together and play and celebrate.
Awesome.
So let's say so.
So Chris Forster's Tai Chi class is on Thursday afternoons, and Mary McEnany and Penny are doing the Ananda meditation on Thursday. It starts at 4:30, right, Penny?
Yeah.
For energization exercises, and then the meditation starts at 5. And Sue Pipel's Course of Love is Friday evenings at 6:30. And I think that's it for our announcements for this week. So we also have our children's affirmation. We aren't really doing children right now. I mean, in the service. Wherever they are, we bless them. So we just have our affirmation. We see you, we hear you, we love you. You are a gift from God. Okay, that's it for the announcements.
So thank you, everyone. And if we will join together in a circle now for our closing song. And join us for hospitality.
I don't know. I know. I wasn't even thinking. It's Father's Day.
Oh well, you can give me stuff. Is that good?
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the